Hello and welcome back to Panda Creates Tutorials. I'm Panda and I am here to bring you the second installment of our Wing It with Anna series. Now this one was actually very fun, as I knew long before Anna did that we were doing a second installment of this. Anna has recently gotten the Sculpey Premo Clay into her range and she's now supplying that, but she has never used clay herself before and had mentioned to me that she was looking for projects to do. So because the resin pens are such a big trend at the moment, I went looking for a way that we could use the clay to kind of expand on the resin and the glitter pens a little bit, and I came across a brilliant tutorial on the Unruly Housewife channel that showed us how we can turn normal ballpoint pens into polymer clay pens. So what I actually did was made up a pen. I sent it to her. I told her that she was going to get a package in the mail, but I didn't actually tell her what was in it. The package arrived on Wednesday. I gave into a lot of peer pressure in her Facebook group and let her open it live on Wednesday night. And then on the Thursday morning, she received all of her instructions and a big surprise, this is your second WIWA. So she had exactly maybe 24 hours between opening the pen on a live and me sending her instructions to actually going live and making the pen herself. Now you need to keep in mind that Anna has never worked with clay before, so I did send her the link to the Unruly Housewife tutorial that I had found, just so she wasn't drowning in the deep end, and she was a little bit more comfortable when she did go live. But if you'd like to see Anna's attempt at making this pen, you can check her out in her Facebook group. I always leave all of her details down in the description, and she is a lot of fun to watch, especially when she's winging it. Now, my job in the Wing It with Anna series is to provide all of her viewers with a step-by-step polished tutorial so that they can then go on and make the projects that she makes in her Wing It with Anna lives for themselves. And that is what we are going to do today. So Anna, like I said, actually had no idea that she was going to do this. I had a look at our schedules and realized that it'd be a really big gap between when we did the scattered peekaboo and when we could do another Wing It with Anna. So I was a little bit sneaky in squeezing this one in. So thanks for Anna for being a really good sport. She doesn't hate me too much now, but I'm sure that when she opened the packet and she read my instructions that I sent her in a message, she wasn't too impressed with me, but she did perfect. She did so well, especially as a first time user, which just proves that doing this can be done at any level. If you have been using polymer clay for years, or if you have never opened a packet of polymer clay in your life, this project is definitely achievable for any level of experience you have with clay. Now I will also leave Anna's website link down in the description if you would like to get your hands on some clay yourself. Otherwise, let's get started. Okay, so in the Unruly Housewife tutorial that I sent to Anna to learn how to do these spiral pens, she actually had a pasta maker, like, you know, the rolly machines that you roll pasta out of. I don't have one of them. I think Anna is looking into getting one of them. But I'm just going to use like a clear acrylic rolling pin that you use for fondant and stuff like that. And I also have a fondant scraper that I use to lift, and a little flat-edged craft knife. The clay that I'm using in this tutorial, I am using what I already had on hand, which is the Sculpey 3 that I grabbed from Spotlight. I have placed an order with Anna, but at the time of doing this Wing It with Anna, I don't have my clay yet, so I am using the Sculpey 3. But the Sculpey Premo that Anna has in stock is actually easier to work with if you're a beginner. And these are the pens that you are going to need. Now they come in packs of just black. I also bought a packet that had, I think it had 2 blue, 2 red and 4 black in it. And I've used them up already, except for the red pens, because I don't like red pens. They remind me of being marked and graded in high school. So I avoid red pens, but we're going to use the black ones today. If you're watching from Australia, you can pick them up for about $4 a pack. from Woolies and Big W. At the time of filming, we are trying to figure out a way to use the Papermate Inkjoy pens. The first one that I put in the oven to test to see if it had melt didn't have any clay on it, and it went all wiggly like a noodle. And the second one I covered in clay and put it in the oven, and that seemed to hold it in shape, but the little bit at the end where you reinsert all of its insides when you reconstructed had melted just that tiniest little bit, but enough that nothing would fit back through the pen tube. So we are currently, and when I say we, I mean Anna and I, are currently working on a way where we can get the Inkjoy pens to work, but for this tutorial we are using the round stick. Now the Unruly Housewife video that we followed did a spiral pen, which is what Anna did in her Wing It with Anna live. I'm also going to recreate that here for you today, showing you how you can do it with just tools that you may have lying around the house if you're a beginner. And we're also going to get into how to create a pen using clay, like tiny little mini cookie cutters. I haven't worked with clay for a fair few years, but I do still have a little bit of know-how behind me, so I'm interested to see how we go about turning it into a pen. Now I've gotten rid of the lid, we don't need the lid. If you're super creative, I suppose, if you wanted to figure out a way that you could make a lid, but once the clay goes on the pen, the lid doesn't fit on obviously anymore anyway. And I'm going to go ahead, this one's quite easy, and just twist and pull that ink cartridge out. Now if you find that it is a little bit hard to grab and pull, just use some tweezers or jewelry pliers or anything like that. Just be super gentle that you don't smush your pen. Okay, so you want just the empty plastic container. The colors that I'm using today are the black and the fluoro pink. The pen that I made, Anna used the same colors, but I'm going to do them reverse. Okay, so instead of a black swirl in pink background, I'm going to do a pink swirl in the black background. Okay, now I use a full section, right? You get 4 sections per block of clay. Put that all to the side, and then this from memory I got from Spotlight. It was only about not even $10, I don't think, but it's not in the cake decorating section with all of the Wilton stuff. It's over where all of your pots and pans and stuff are. You can find them on the website, but it is a Wiltshire brand, so I will leave the link for that in the description as well. But if you don't want to invest in a pasta maker, or clay isn't something that you're going to be doing all of the time, it's a handy little tool. So I've done that. I'm going to get my scraper and just knock off my edges, so I've got basically my rectangle. Okay, do I want to make it any bigger is the question. I've done it the wrong way around anyway, because I said I wanted black on pink, didn't I? So I want that bit to be smaller. Okay. When you're doing your swirls, I'm confusing myself now, I'm sorry guys. When you're doing your swirls, you want the color that you want as the background, not the spiral color itself, but the color that sits in the background of the spiral is on the bottom, and your spiral color is on the top. So I'm just going to put that out of the way. We're going to do exactly the same thing with the fluoro pink, but we're going to try and make this one longer, right? You want them at about the same width if you can, but we do want the pink longer. So I think I'm going to add just a little bit more. That'll do. Okay, so I'm just trying to make them sort of the same width. And I'm just doing this on an old glass chopping board, guys. The crafters mats, like the plastic crafters mats with the grids on them, that's what Anna uses. They work as well. Otherwise, tiles. Like if you go to Bunnings and just buy a single tile, big tile, maybe like depends on how big your projects are, I suppose. But a 300 by 300 mil tile from Bunnings, I think it'll only cost you a couple of bucks. But they work wonders as well. Just cleaning up my hands because I don't want to get any of the black on my pink. And I'm just going to tidy up the sides. And with your scrap clay, guys, you can use clay to clean up clay off your tools when you're using your tools. See, I've got pink. It picks it up quite nicely. I always keep my all of my little bits of scrap clay. I'm supposed to keep them in a container. I do have a lot sitting here just off camera today, but I usually keep it in a container. It's good to use for fillers and stuff like that as well. So there is our background, and here is our swirl. Now you want to have about the same thickness, which is what we've got, right? But you want to leave, I've got this upside down, you want to leave a little bit on one end that you can fold up and over that black. All right, that is how you're going to start the middle of your spiral. You also want enough on the other end so that it wraps right around so that no black is showing. So now that I've folded this little bit flat over itself so it's covering the black, I'm just going to use my fingers to roll up my spiral. Okay, so that's where the black ends, and then the pink is well and truly gonna lap over itself, and there is our black spiral. So using the palm of my hand and not applying so much pressure, because you want to try and keep it, I mean, the smaller you make your spirals, the longer it's gonna take to cover your pen, because the more spirals you're gonna need. No, I'm trying to keep this in frame, guys, I'm sorry, but it's going all over the place. Okay, so just using the palm of my hand, and I'm going from one end of the coil, these are called coils or canes, right? Going from one end to the other just so I get an even what's the word I'm looking for? Okay. Now that it's starting to get a little bit thinner, I can use my fingertips. And same deal, going from the middle to the outside so that we get an even coil. Now, if I chop that straight down the middle, there is our black spiral. Ta-da! So all you need to do from here is I'm going to use my craft knife because it has a thinner blade, like a thinner surface, than using my scraper, and I want to try and keep that spiral shape. So, sorry guys, I'm left-handed. About that thick, we have our first spiral. So I'll do a few more just to show you. Right, the pattern is consistent the whole way through the cane. I call them coils. I think the Americans call them canes, like a candy cane. But basically it's any shape like this that has another shape in the middle. Technical difficulties with my camera, but I noticed it straight away as soon as it froze. I was lifting this up to show you and realized it had frozen. So it is a consistent shape the whole way through. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish cutting this piece at this size, and then we'll be back to work on that piece. Dun, 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 dun. My spirals. Okay. I knew I said that I was going to do it backwards, but I have a phone. I'm going to have to go through and check. From memory, it was pink spirals on a black background, but now I'm wondering if I did black spirals on a pink background and I'm doing it exactly the same way. Time will tell. Okay, so with this other coil that we cut in half, I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller, right? Not by much, but... Oh no, where's that pin gone? I've lost that. Here it is. Right, if you see, it tapers... You can't see because I'm not in frame. It tapers down at the ends. I want to put some little spirals just around that bit there. Okay, and maybe on the top as well. So I'm going to do the same thing again, chop it in half, because that's where the patterns are. Put that to the side. I need to put it somewhere where there's not a stack of glitter. And we're going to do the same thing again, but with smaller spirals. Okay. Excuse me, I don't think I'm going to need many of the small ones because it's only a little surface that we are covering. They're prettier. I'm going to keep them. They can go in the scrap pile because they're blended. I should put them in frames so that you can see. Ta-da! Little babies! Okay, that will do, donkey. Okay, we're going to put our little spirals to the side and bring all of our big ones back. We're going to get started on covering, so I'm going to move the camera up just slightly so I remember to stay in frame. And all it is, wow, they are quite big, aren't they? Maybe not start with the big ones on the top. Right, we're just going to press our spiral onto our pen. Like that. And then coming down the next layer, you want to do it sort of like a rhinestone cut. Right, so you know that when you're doing your rhinestone cut, where you've got your two, you want to go the one underneath between the two. Same idea, okay? It's not going to matter if there's big gaps, and I'll show you in a second. Right, see how we're getting gaps? Whoop, no. We've got gaps and little bits showing through and whatever else. That's not a huge problem. I mean, if you're going to leave a big gap like that, that will be a problem. But leaving gaps between your clay pieces isn't going to be a huge deal, because once all of the clay is on, we're going to do our roly-poly action again. I'm going to put one more row on, and then I'll cut to where I'm working a little bit faster. Ready? Cartoon styles. 3, 2, 1, go. Alrighty, so we've got the whole pen from tip to tip is now covered. I haven't bothered covering that bit yet, and I'll show you why as we roll. It actually pushes the clay out. Okay, it's same deal as when you were making your coils. You want to see how that's all smushing together? quite clever. And it's the perfect way for anybody that doesn't have the means or the money to be getting into resin pens. An alternative to using epoxy and having to buy the toner attachments and everything as well. And Anna can play with clay. The whole reason I found this challenge for her was because she got her clay delivery and loaded it, going off frame, loaded it all onto the website, and she wanted to have a play, but she had no idea where to start. So I thought, that's okay, I can help you with that. And we were kind of hoping to use the Inkjoy pens in the tutorial because Danny from DJ Designs has just restocked her Inkjoy pens. But that's still in the works, as we mentioned. But this is a good alternative for now. Now, as you saw, because it pushed all of the clay up and over, right, I had to cut that little bit off. But now I'm applying quite a good amount of pressure, but not so much that it squishes it right off the pen, right? I just want to make sure that there's no little air pockets. Okay, so I'm going to chop that end off again. Okay, so you can kind of see where it's all, well, I'm not very good with my camera angles today, am I? Where it's all come to a meet. I've got one of my little spirals left over that I'm going to work into the top of the pen now that it's all rolled. See, that looks much nicer with a little spiral on top. Now, we've also lost our little opening. Just cut a ring around. I'm going to pull that ring off. It is going to expose a little bit of the pen. It's like giving a little circumcision, I suppose. But now that I can see my hole again, I'm just going to push the clay up and around that opening rather than roll it. So try and do it where I can see, but so can you. Okay. And I don't want any clay on that plastic rim, because your ink insert will not go all the way back in if there is clay up around that little plastic bit. So I'm just going to grab, oh, this one might work. It's my little jewelry tweezers. Of course they're going to start mowing the lawn. Just going to get them up inside the tube and clean out any clay, right? So that is where our pen will go back in. Okay, I don't want to push it all the way in because I don't want to damage the clay works that I've just done. But don't put the ink back in until after it's baked. Okay, so I'm just going to give it a quick little reshape. I'm not applying any pressure now. I'm just giving it a roll so that it can go back into the shape. But that is how you do the spiral method. Okay, so I'm going to go and prep my clay. I have already covered one of the pens in black. I'm going to go and prep my clay, and I'm going to show you how you can use the cutters to create different patterns on your solid base pens as well. Okay, so I have finished prepping my clay. I'm using more of the fluoro pink and I'm using teal this time as well. As I mentioned, I've already gone ahead and coated this pen cylinder in plain black clay, and basically all that I had to do for that is roll out a bit of black clay, until it was the same length as the pen. I put the pen down on the edge of the clay, folded it over and smushed it down, and then rolled it. And from there, we do our little back and forwards motion with your hands, pushing out any air bubbles and really adhering your clay to your pen cylinder. And then you get your base and you're ready to go. Now the two little, these are the little clay cutters. See, they're like tiny, tiny little cookie cutters. You can see my daughter has been using this one and I think she's pushed it all the way through the clay. So thanks, Serenity. But we're going to use pink love hearts and teal flowers today. Okay. Now, if I was doing this for a customer, like it was a proper order, or if I was doing this for something that wasn't a pen, a neat little trick when you're using the little clay cutters is to put a little bit of cling wrap over the top, or saran wrap if you're in America, over the top, and then you push your cookie cutter into the cling wrap. Now that gives you nice smooth edges. I'm not going to bother with that today. But that is another option as well. And with the cutters, you just go through and push. If you're a cake maker, or you've ever made cakes, or you've used fondant before, that one's come up. It's exactly the same technique, right? So I'm going to lift my clay and peel that back, and we are going to be left with all of our little hearts. I'm going to put this one back with its friends. Okay, and we're going to do exactly the same thing with the flower and the teal. Oh look, that's got black in it. Far out. I'm going to use a paintbrush to push out. Sorry guys, I have a 10-year-old daughter that thinks she's the craftiest thing on the planet, and she often sneaks into my craft room to play. She never touches any of my glitter or my resin or anything, but I dare say she's seen when I've left out all of my clay after I was making the pens for Anna and playing with my cutters and stuff like that, and she's decided that she's going to give it a crack as well, which is all well and good, but A, she should be asking permission, but B, well, let's clean up after yourself, girl. Okay, let's try that again, shall we? That's better. Okay. Not best, but better. If they keep being picked up like this, though, that's going to be a bit of a pain. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, and that one stayed. 11. Put my paintbrush back now. So we have our little shapes. Now, I know that nope. I know that I'm not going to have any problems. Now that I've just said that, I jinxed myself. I'm not going to have any problems picking up the flowers. But I'm just going to clean my hands, get my little scraper, and just make sure that none of these are stuck down too heavy either. Okay, so pen. All you got to do is push it down. Try not to lose too much of the shape, but you want to push down all around those edges. So I'll put another one here. Same deal, I'm just smushing down the edges. And it's still retaining its shape. Okay. Now I'm not going to go into too much detail, but because we're saving that for another tutorial down the line when Anna gets some of her new micas in. But if you wanted to then go ahead and add glitter or pigment powders or anything like that over the top, there is a way that you could do that just to pretty it up. And then you can seal it with the same Jo Sonja's varnish that people use with, oh, obviously after it's baked, right? You can then seal it up with some of the Jo Sonja's varnish that people use on the inside of their baubles. Same stuff. This flower's looking a little bit sad. I think I'm done. I don't want to put too many on it because I want it to be, but there is a big bald spot, so maybe I will put one more on, just one. Yeah, so after you bake it you can seal it. Otherwise the other alternative is if you are already into resin pens and this is something that you're adding to your repertoire, once it's baked you can just add a little bit of glitter into your epoxy and do it that way. But using mica powders and glitters with polymer clay is another tutorial that we have lined up down the line. We're just waiting for Anna to get some new stock because she's got some exciting things in store, as she always does. I'm gonna add one more flower down the bottom here and then I'm going to stop playing with it. There we go. I do like the hearts better than the flowers. The flowers ended up looking like munted stars, but that's okay. Alright, and then just without too much pressure, because we don't want to push our shapes out of shape too much like I just did with that flower. I'm just going to roll it just the tiniest bit. See? Mess it up. But the hearts worked. But that's how you can use cookie cutters. Maybe steer clear of the flower because the flower, it just ends up looking like a circle, but that's okay. We've got hearts and circles now. I am okay with that. But that is using cookie cutters on a solid base, so that is now ready for baking as well. And I am going to add just the tiniest little bit of white mica to it, just to give it a little bit of a shimmer. But that is that. So we have, let's put that down in a way that it looks good. Our 2 pens. Ta-da! That's how you make a polymer clay pen. Now, to bake them, obviously you don't put the inks back in until after they are baked. These are going to go in the oven on 130 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes, as per the baking instructions on the Sculpey packets. Once they're cooled down, we can resin them. If you want to put resin on them, you can leave. You can put resin on them. Otherwise, they are ready to have the ink reinserted. Please, when you're selling them to customers or giving them to family or friends or anything like that, let them know that they are refillable. This bit does come out, and it just takes a normal ballpoint pen insert to refill the pen. Doesn't need to be anything fancy or special. Excuse me. Otherwise, that is the polymer clay pen tutorial to accompany Anna's Wing It with Anna. Oh, and I messaged her when I was priming the pink and the teal as well. I messaged her, and it turns out that I did do the black spirals with the pink. So in an attempt to be different to what I sent her, I've actually ended up copying myself again. But you get that. So that is polymer clay tutorial. Okay, we are back. My camera died again. I think it's a USB connection issue. Like, the USB port of my computer is a bit temperamental. But that is, ta-da! Now, while I was filming this whole tutorial for you, because it has been filmed over the past couple of days, I did have to refilm a couple of parts of it as well. Let's see if you can guess which parts are refilmed. But Anna issued me with a challenge to come up with a gift box for pens. So I will be going live in Aussie Tumbler Makers at 8:30 on Sunday night, Sunday being the 28th of February, to show you how to make a pen box, and then I will also upload that onto YouTube as well if you'd like to know how to do that. Otherwise, that's it from me for the very, no, it's not the very first, the very second installment of Wing It with Anna. Please leave your comments and constructive criticisms in the comments. Otherwise, I will see you later. Bye, guys!